Do it. Just do it.
Dun, dun, dun,
Dun,
dun, dun.
dun, dun, dun. It's Tuesday morning, everyone, and it's V and CJ in the morning. And welcome all of you, wherever the heck in the world you are. It is the notorious, glorious V, the Guerrilla Economist, and my main man, the man they know as El Cuco himself, the producer extraordinaire. CJ is in the house. And with that being said, folks, check out our sponsored, our paid sponsors, mycbdedibles.com, mycbdedibles.com. The link is in the description box. Go there whether you need to get some delicious CBD infused coffee, you want to get some treats for your doggy, whatever it is, it's a great way to get it. Or you need to get some vapes that ain't going to kill you. Go there, mycbdedibles.com, and get yourself all sorts of deliciousness. Also, check out the Patreon channel. Be a frontline member in the fight. Join the Guerrilla Squad over at Patreon. The link is in the description box. There's a $7 pledge and a $10 pledge, whatever the heck you want to do. I haven't differentiated anything as of yet, but it's a great way to get a lot of insider stuff that I do not share anywhere ever. So a lot of people that have been on the Patreon have greatly benefited from the intel that has been dropped numerous of times. With that being said, Siege, what's crack like?
Hey, good morning, V. Good morning. Doing great. Good to be back on air. And no, man, just keeping busy. I just can't believe that we're like November 19th already, and we'll soon be calling this year a rest and moving. And it's just this year just flew by, V.
Oh my God, it was a blur, dude. I'm looking forward to going into 2020, raging like an absolute monster. That's what I'm looking forward to doing, man.
Yeah, man, absolutely. I mean, I know this year, probably on record, just been, just so challenging. And yeah, so I already started trying to do some things. You always people was like, well, I'm gonna wait for New Year's resolution, and everything, and I've done that in the past, and it never works out. So this year I'm not doing those. I'm just gonna start doing things now, V, instead of waiting till later. And started listening to a really good audio book. It's hard sometimes to read being so busy, but whether I'm driving or working out in the gym, so I'm gonna try to stay active with that. But I started listening to Extreme Ownership by Jocko
Willink, man, love that book.
Yeah, man, it's a great book. Just as it applies to his training, extensive training in the military, and how those can be applied to, either business or self-development. And I just really encourage it. It's a really good book. Despite your thoughts on like U.S. intervention policies and everything like that, that was my hardest thing going into it was, understanding that. But I was able to put that aside and just kind of open my mind and listen. And it's I like how it's laid out, where it talks about certain situational management in military, certain actions that were taking place, and then boom, goes into a business situation and how that was applied and how it works. So yeah, it's good, man. It's really good.
No, I love it, man. I have I love his book. I also have his other book, Extreme Ownership, which you just mentioned. My God, where's the other one that I have? It's I also have David Goggins' book, Can't Hurt Me, which is awesome book as well. But they kind of go hand in hand. But yeah, man, the Jocko Willink book is fantastic. It makes me want to get up at 4 a.m. and do something with my life. Seriously, it's a badass book, man. It's about discipline. Anyway, yes, Danny says I love the 4:30 a.m. tweets from Jocko. Yeah, at 4:30 a.m. my man, every day he wakes up at 4:30 a.m. and takes a picture of his G-Shock showing 4:30 a.m. and he uploads it to his Instagram. And that guy is hardcore. And he's a guy who did a job, and he did one of the toughest jobs in the world. He was a task force leader, task force commander for SEAL Team 3, so guy's a badass, bro. And on top of that, he looks like a G.I. Joe figure to begin with. He looks like
he does. He was really.
He looks like a G.I. Joe action figure. He's built like one. It's crazy.
and you should go back, and I'm sure you've listened to it as well. But I enjoyed listening to the podcast that he did with Joe Rogan, and that's what first got me turned on to the book. And in the years past, I've kind of tried to make some New Year's resolutions, and like I said, I'm not doing those, but because they were failed, I never did do it. So I made it a goal this year to just to start. Don't wait for some magical point on the calendar. Don't wait for the alignment of the stars and everything. So I'll be 49 this December, V, and
damn, son.
I'll be 49 and 50.
You got to reverse it, bro. Now's the time.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna work hard to, by the time I get to be age 50, to be in the best shape of my life. And been hitting it hard. I think of probably 19 of the past 20 days I've been in the gym. If I didn't get to the gym, I played basketball or whatever, everything else. And another part of that was just kind of, self-improvement. And I love reading books. I used to read books, all the time. And the past several years, I've just, made excuses not to do it, everything else. So I said, well, let me start with audiobooks, because there's no excuse for that. I can be driving, could be working out in the gym, could be cooking, and be doing multiple things while listening. But yeah, so anyway, that's enough of Carlos's CJ's preaching for the morning, V.
I love it, man. That's inspirational. Actually, you're inspiring me straight up. I'm like, shit, I got to do something.
Well, yeah, I mean, my boys, they're growing so fast, and they're physically getting, stronger and all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, I've got to be, set the tone for them, see some things, do some things, and, practice what I preach half the time. So just, and then teaching them as well, what I call life skills, and, certain things like, I had a flat tire one time, and so I dragged them out and said, okay, boys, you're gonna learn how to change a flat tire. Just some of those things where I've been conditioned to just do them myself, because I can do a lot faster and everything else like that. So now I got them filling the water softener with salt. I got them what and they look forward to it. They're like, what lesson are we going to learn today? I'm like, well, we'll see. But anyway, yeah, just some thoughts good.
Some far leftists will consider that child abuse, CJ.
You'll be on the news tomorrow.
Yeah, they don't want you to teach your sons how to change a flat tire or change oil, or do some do some work around the house. They'd rather have them do coloring books and try to figure out what gender they are.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy. Yeah, it's crazy. But dude, that's awesome, brother. That's awesome. It kind of reminds me. You remember that poem, "Rage Against the Dying Light"? Remember that?
Yes,
I'll
I do.
just play it, man. Here we go. Hopefully I don't get a copyright strike. Doesn't matter anyway.
Do not go gentle into that good night. Old age should burn and rave at close of day. Rage against the dying of the light. Though wise men at their end know dark is right, because their words had forked no lightning, they do not go gentle into that good night. Good men, the last wave by, crying how bright their frail deeds might have danced in the green bay. Rage against the dying of the light. Wild men who caught and sang the sun in flight, and learned too late they grieved it on its way. Do not go gentle into that good night. Grave men near death who see with blinding sight, blind eyes could blaze like meteors and be gay. Rage against the dying of the light. And you, my father, there on the sad height, curse, bless me now with your fierce tears, I pray. Do not go gentle into that good night. Rage against the dying of the light.
Do not go gentle into that dying light, my man. That's what's up. And that's all we can do, folks. I mean, that kind of symbolizes life. It encapsulates life in general. It encapsulates who we are as a country that, if we truly love where we live, we truly love this nation that we call home, that we need to do everything we can, that we don't go gently into the dying of the light, that we rage against the injustice. We rage against the deep state. We rage against the lies and the programming of millions. We rage and we fight because, folks, let me tell you, as the international man of mystery that I am, and as well versed I am in so many places throughout the world, there's no place in the world that is quite like America. There is no place in the world that is quite like here. And if we lose this, because we have one foot on the precipice and the other foot on a banana peel, and if we lose this, we lose sacred liberty, and we lose her forever. It took thousands of years and gallons upon gallons of blood and war and tears and suffering that led to 1776. We cannot sit idle while a bunch of bankers and men and the criminally corrupt plot in ivory towers against our beloved republic. We cannot sit idle, and therefore we must rage. We must rage for our families. We must rage for our country. We must rage for each other, for our neighborhoods, for our culture, for our traditions, for our Constitution, for our republic. Wow.
Very well said, V. Very well said.
With that being said, Siege, let's jump into it, brother. I mean, what do you want to begin? I mean,
let's hit it.
So many things going on.
Well, I think first, we didn't have an opportunity to, last week, and I know you have a lot of thoughts on it. I'm gonna let you go first, V. But I hit a point last week, V, and it wasn't a breaking point. It was a point of rage, and that was the prosecution conviction of Roger Stone, and I think that this is just a moment that the president needs to react. What are your thoughts, V?
I feel the same way. Here we are. It's it's almost November 19th right now. Yeah, November 19th, going to be November 20th. And Julian Assange is damn near dead in jail. His health is failing him. His family that have visited him, the reports that are being put out, even through some third-party sources, have confirmed that his health is failing him. And it would be a shame if Julian Assange were to pass in prison. Then you have Roger Stone, somebody who hasn't done anything wrong, hasn't done a damn thing wrong. And I just can't understand, CJ. It just completely befuddles me that when we have so much power, as we're supposed to have with the executive branch and half of the legislature with the Senate, and we have the Supreme Court stacked in our favor, why nothing can't be done against these evil, far leftist, communist cabal members who have put Roger Stone behind bars. I can't fathom it, Siege. Like, something has to get done. I hope and pray to God that he is released quickly. Do you know when his sentencing is?
I do not know his sentencing, V. I do know that Cassandra Fairbanks, who has been active not only with Julian Assange, visiting him while he was stuck in the embassy, and apparently she has also been spending time visiting Roger Stone as well, and she put out a pretty eerie tweet or message that was conveyed and picked up, by InfoWars, and that was that Roger is afraid that they're going to basically do the same thing that they did to Epstein. They're gonna do to him, and regardless of that point, he should be considered a political prisoner.
Yes,
and at his age, I think the minimum sentence he's looking at, or maybe the maximum sentence is 50 years. So don't quote me on the minimum or maximum. But regardless, outside of all those things considered, everyone, all of our listeners know, we know that there was no one that did not accomplish more to help Donald Trump to get to where he is today. Someone that organized, someone that orchestrated a campaign, someone that levied heavily. And when these things happen, I kind of I usually personalize it, and I put myself in that situation where this says a lot about, if Trump doesn't act quickly, about Trump's character, about who he is as a person. Because if this happened to you, or this happened to someone close to me, someone that was so committed to helping me and everything else, I'd be at the point where I would be breaking down courtroom doors. I would be utilizing every leverage, everything that I had to counter. And it's kind of crazy because Alex Jones picked up on some of my, not giving myself credit or anything, but some of our talking points, that where we're at the stage now where we have to, ask ourselves that if Trump doesn't do anything, is Trump a Trojan horse, or is Trump controlled opposition? I mean, this is the reality that we've arrived. There's been nothing done to counter Google, YouTube. There's nothing been accomplished with Julian Assange, and now we're at this point with Roger Stone. I mean, what type of person allows someone so committed, who did everything they could to get a person that they're in the position, the highest office in the United States, and he needs to be very decisive, and he doesn't need to worry about all the people that turned Donald Trump into a politician, because that's what's happened. He's turned more into a politician now than a bold leader. That he needs to become that bold leader. He needs to make a decisive, and if it costs him the office of the United States, then so be it. So be it, because I think we're at that decisive moment where, patriots, people like you and I, who are at the point now where we're willing to say, you know what, maybe it's that time, maybe it's that moment where the tree of liberty, what's that quote, that famous quote, the tree of liberty, sometimes it has to bleed, and I think we're
exactly. Every so often, the tree of liberty has to be watered by with the blood of patriots and tyrants.
I think we're at that point because, and again, I think every person, no matter the people, the largest support, those people that even believe Trump can absolutely do no wrong, need to look at this and say, hey, let's put some more pressure. Let's continue the pressure on the administration to act, decisively and bold. And I know over the weekend, whenever that message was starting to take off, mostly due to InfoWars, because Alex took a very hard stance on this issue, because he has a very personal relationship with Roger as well.
Yeah, and so does Harley.
And
Harley and Roger are friends.
Yeah. So I think we're at that point now, and I think it's just just important to get prepared, to be ready, because we don't know what the situation is going to bring. I know that some people are saying, hey, well, you know what, the IG report's coming out December 10th. IG report. Yeah. We just told these things, time and time again. And I would love for him to go ahead and at this time, but when the moment he's convicted, to say, you know what, and I don't know if they have to wait till they're out of office. I don't think they do, because he's already pardoned people already, right? The elderly.
Let me read something off real quick.
Okay,
man. I want to. This one kind of pulls things in perspective. Okay. In 1983, a certain financier who was a partner at a certain law firm who was also a major commodities trader, who was actually the boss of my mentor, the gentleman who took me under his wings and mentored me into what I became, and back in 2003. My mentor's boss, okay, was indicted. It was indicted on 65 criminal counts, including income tax evasion, wire fraud, racketeering, and trading with Iran during the oil embargo at a time when Iranian revolutionaries were still holding American citizens hostage. The charges would have led to a sentence of more than 300 years in prison. The indictment was filed by the U.S. federal prosecutor. At that time was Rudy Giuliani. It was the biggest tax evasion case in U.S. history. Learning of the plans of this indictment, this individual fled to Switzerland and always insisted that he was not guilty, and he never returned to the U.S. to answer any of the charges. His companies eventually pleaded guilty to 35 counts of tax evasion and paid $90 million in fines, which is nothing. It's a slap on the wrist to these guys. Although this gentleman himself remained on the FBI's 10 most wanted fugitive lists for many years, and he narrowly evaded capture in Britain, Germany, Finland, and Jamaica. Fearing arrest, he did not even return to the United States to attend his daughter's funeral in 1996. But on January 20th, CJ, on January 20th, 2001, before I left office, CJ, I tell you what I did. I called up my buddy. I said, "Hey, Mark, hey, man, you, me, and Jeffrey, we had some great times together. I tell you right now, Mark, I know you're probably up in the Swiss chalet eating chocolate bonbons and, hanging out with some Swiss blondes. But I'll tell you right now, Mark, I'm going to go ahead and before I leave, January 20th, before I exit on the 21st, but on January 20th, 2001, before my term's over, Mark, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pardon you." That's right. Mark Rich was pardoned by Bill Clinton. A guy, dude, this is a guy who had 65 criminal counts, including tax evasion, wire fraud, racketeering, and trading with the enemy, all of which would have landed him in jail for 300 years. And I came along. I said, "Hey, Mark, I tell you what, man, I'll let you come back in, and I'm going to pardon you. Come back to the good old US of A, and put a little money into the Clinton Foundation, and all's forgiven." I mean, come on. This is what kills me, dude. You have a guy with the evidence against Mark Rich, who created Glencore, okay, which was the corporation that my mentor worked for. So Mark Rich, with evidence against this guy, was dead to rights. Real evidence: wire fraud, bank fraud, tax evasion, tax fraud, trading with the enemy, all of it. Flagrantly violating U.S. sanctions, the whole 9 yards. But you mean to tell me that Clinton, a sitting U.S. president, could pardon him? And see, 50 years, 25 years, that's a death sentence for Roger, who is, 67 right now? 69?
Yeah, probably at least. Yeah. Yes, that's correct.
I mean, how does this happen? Why is our side a bunch of pussies, bro?
And apparently, yes, the cards were definitely stacked completely against him. And outside of everything that's taken place, now you have to wonder what information, apparently, like how many other players, they one of the charges was convicted of lying to Congress. Well, what about James Clapper? What about Comey?
What about Bug-Eye Schiff?
What about all these other individuals that did that exact same thing? So now one has to wonder what information that did he lie about specifically, and in part, does that counter with any of the written statements that Trump provided as well to the special prosecutor at that time? And again, if that's true, then if that's going to be a potential, instead of Trump waiting for these matters to take place, you take situational control, and because there's going to be no, forget about the 2020 election, forget about that. You know what? Pardon him right now. You're going to be criticized regardless if you do or you don't. So stop. Don't be looking for some type of a political best way, out of this. I know over the weekend he pardoned some either U.S. soldiers,
Navy SEAL guys who were caught canoeing, some of their victims.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I don't know whether that was done to appease. I'm glad he did that. But was that done to try to appease, to try to, to try to lessen the echo of the Roger Stone, of pardoning Roger Stone? I don't think so. And I think it's one of those things that we can't let it go to the back burner, just like many have done with, Julian Assange. And now that he's just idly, waiting by to probably end up dying in prison. And we can't, whether it's Julian or whether it's Roger Stone, we can't let that happen. I think we need to continue, to apply pressure via social media, Twitter, to pardon, for Trump to pardon Roger Stone and make a decisive decision and do it, and stop with all this whole political posturing with everything. It's not going to matter. I mean, he's not going to change anyone's mind who already doesn't hate him. Okay, that's there's no need of worrying about that. So stop worrying about the middle of the road. Get out of the middle and take a strong stance. And
I mean, dude, his base would only cheer if he were to pardon Roger. The base would only cheer, because what's happening right now with if Roger doesn't get freed, right? If Roger doesn't get freed, then it's absolutely demoralizing. It's absolutely demoralizing for the base. Something has to get done. And I don't know when the sentencing is. Maybe after the sentencing, he'll probably pardon him. We still got to see how this plays out. And but something better play out. And it better not be some tweets. It actually better be things that get things done. Oh, dude, Siege, I'll tell you that right now. So I ordered a book on Amazon Prime.
Okay, right? Let's hear it.
And it's going to arrive today. You know what I ordered?
I don't.
I ordered Adolf Hitler's book, Mein Kampf.
Oh, did you?
Oh, yeah, I did.
Okay.
I wanted to read it, okay? Because, we all have the historical perspectives of Hitler and this, that, and the other. But I want to know what the man was thinking, right? Because there was a line that was said about Mein Kampf. They actually put an article on one of these websites that I saw. It was a mainstream, Russian website. They put this little line out there, and actually it was written by Hitler himself. And I'm not going to get into the politics of Hitler or the evil of Hitler or anything like that. I don't want to even touch base on that. All I want to touch base on is this. One line that really caught my eye is this. And this is from, I believe this is from Volume 2, Chapter 5. And it says, compromise is not possible. Do you want change? Declare total war on the system. And that one sentence has been, for the last several days, CJ, been doing all sorts of topsy-turvy inside of my brain. I've been thinking about it. I've been pondering upon it. I was postulating every single possible meaning out of it, trying to extract out of it, and I really was reflective all the while I was thinking about that phrase. Compromise is not possible. Do you want change? declare total war on the system. Compromise is not possible. And see, when I was saying that to myself, I was thinking in my head every single member of Antifa. I was thinking in my head all the pussy hats screaming at the top of their lungs, all the leftover women, all the cat ladies, the soy boys that support them, the white knighted incels that are also holding up signs that they don't even know nothing about. I'm reminded of the deranged politicians like Eric, I fart on the live TV, Swalwell, like Nancy Dentures Pelosi, like Adam Shifty Schiff. I think of the deep state. I think of all this, and I started to realize, Siege, there's a good 40% of the country that compromise is simply not possible. You know, we in the conservative libertarian mind frame believe that all ideas could compete in a market, in a market of ideas, and the best ideas always win out. There's always room for dialogue. There's always room for debate. And they'd be right. You're absolutely right. There would be room for dialogue, and there would be room for debate, and debate and dialogue is always a good thing in a sane society. But we're not living in a sane society. And I think it's this. If we're all sitting around looking for one man to do it all for us, like a bunch of lazy bastards, nothing is going to get done. You have to change the system. It was refreshing for me to see that in California. I was, watching. I was on my YouTube feed. Some lady who was Vietnamese. She's conservative. She was a Vietnamese refugee. Escaped. Her family escaped South Vietnam when the North Vietnamese, the Viet Cong, started coming in. She was her family was the original Vietnamese boat people, and now she's running for Congress. God bless her. That's awesome. And this is what needs to be done. And she's young, too. So this is what needs to be done. We need young, fresh faces with incredibly new and bright ideas to engage the system, to kill the system. Because it's getting to the point, unless something changes, because I feel, CJ, that this country is going to be divided to such a point that the probability of a civil war or an ideological civil war is getting closer and closer, man.
Yeah, I'm not sure what that point is, V, but it's very interesting perspective. I think that the government has certain power, certain things that they will do to try to suppress that thought process by having us focused on so many things that we shouldn't be, right? That in other words, and then all this conversation that they're doing right now is like, for example, student loan debt forgiveness. There's talks that might be adopted by both parties potentially to change the interest or rewrite or potentially erase. So they have certain things like that they will leverage, try to utilize to say, look, we gave you something for nothing. And it's unfortunate, in our society that we have almost now generational welfare and people who are perfectly fine and willing to live in a nanny state as long as they have certain things and it doesn't directly impact them. I always see people get very frustrated when someone starts a big movement regarding something and they get upset because it doesn't take off, and they're like, why aren't you people caring about this? This is, look at the vaccine movement, right? Look at that movement, how that's been going on for years in regards to cleaner vaccines and everything else like that. But the truth of the matter is, I hate to paint with such a broad brush, but I think in our society today that we live in, that until something directly impacts you or an individual, that you're okay with the status quo. You're okay with that. And I think that goes for a good portion of America, because, I'm guilty of it as well. Like, I'd be pissed as hell if my UFC, if they canceled the UFC or something like that. But I think that's part of the society we've adopted to. And we see it time and time again, how long will we get angry about knowing that there's already cures and things for cancer, and now they're seeing so many people are getting frustrated with it, and the truth is coming out regarding these things. So now they're like, oh, we've created a vaccine that's going to cure cancer. These things. It's very unfortunate, and like I said, I'm guilty of it as well with certain aspects. But in terms of how it relates to how people view the government, I had this conversation at dinner Saturday night. My wife wasn't too happy about it because we were with friends and everything else about government, and the fact that so many people still believe in this two-party political system, that it works, and that to a certain degree they're okay with the corruption, and as long as they get their main person in, they're okay with it. So I don't know if we'll get to that point. I think we would have already have arrived there. Most of those countries that are impacted, where you see things happening right now, are because the hardships, with either not being able to afford food, to pay for gas, for a minimum standard of living, but because the dollar has been leveraged, so much as fiat currency and just printing money to oblivion, they're able to control society a little bit. They're able to bring this vision that everything's fine. Here's your tax refund. Here's this, and until we get to that point, I don't know if people will take to the streets. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. What are your thoughts?
People look, man. I agree with you. I've been saying it forever. Until the bottom line is affected, which is the wallet. So long as there's cheap gas and cheap food, ain't nobody gonna do a damn thing. Nobody is gonna do a damn thing, CJ. Nobody gonna do nothing. Why? Because of the cheap gas and the cheap food. Nothing's gonna get done. And it's until when that's done and away with, then there'll probably be some rage. You see, if we have a conflict now, if we have a civil war right now, it'll be over rather quickly, or would it? The question remains, folks. You have a great deal of the country that will not lift its hand to do anything. Why? Because you know what? I still got to pay the bills. I still got to get up in the morning. I still got to go to work. I still got to drop off my kids at daycare. I still. And what is left of this whole entire thing is you have an inoculated population that is absolutely slovenly and lazy. Look how corrupt we are as a society, man. Let me show you something, right? Look at it. Look at this crazy psycho over here. This crazy psycho. Her name is Lady. What's her name again? I have it right here. Lady. She represents. She's an author.
I should have it up on the screen. Colin Campbell.
Yeah, that's it. Lady Colin Campbell. Yes, absolutely, CJ. Let me bring that in. Okay, so yeah, Lady Colin Campbell. That's who she is, right? This crazy psycho was on ITV, okay, and she was out there saying, this is what she was saying, CJ, that soliciting sex from minors is not pedophilia. Defending Prince Andrew, who I think Prince Andrew should be, in my opinion, Prince Andrew should be bludgeoned to death with a cricket bat. But that's my opinion. Biographer for the Royal Family, Lady Colin Campbell, recently appeared on ITV's Good Morning Britain, where she defended Prince Andrew's claims against the claims of pedophilia. In her defense of the disgraced idiot prince, who has pictures of him, I mean, he's literally saying, "I don't sweat. I was in the Falklands War, and during the Falklands War, I was being shot at, And when I was being shot at, I lost the ability to sweat. So it was not me because I simply do not sweat. And her, Lady Gumfrey's, this woman's recollection of me engaged in sexual acts against her is simply not true because she said in the in her testimony that I sweated. I do not sweat. And meanwhile, there's pictures of Andrew emerging of him sweating, right? There's pictures of him and the girl that he molested, like she's on his neck.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, I have simply no idea where this young girl appeared from. I have no idea. I have no clue. Right? Meanwhile, this girl's like nibbling on his neck, right? And this sicko, Colin Chapman, whatever, right? This psycho. Look at her. She looks deranged, CJ. Right?
She does.
And now she's saying, you know, this is the kind of crap that's being out there. The media, not only she's saying that, you know, soliciting minors is not pedophilia, but there's also people out there saying, oh yeah, Jeffrey Epstein trafficked women. No, he didn't traffic women. He trafficked children without their consent. And that's the whole entire thing. It's ridiculous. And Piers, you know, God bless Piers Morgan. I can't believe I'm saying this. But Piers Morgan says if you solicit a 14-year-old for prostitution, you're a pedophile. You're procuring an underage girl for sex. That's what he was convicted of. I'm sorry. With respect, that is nonsense. Campbell then immediately attempted to backpedal, claiming that there's a distinction to be made between a minor and a child. Was he 14? Well, I'm not justifying Jeffrey Epstein's pedophilia. I suspect there's a difference between a minor and a child, she said. A 14-year-old is a child. And then Morgan immediately Piers Morgan hits back and says, no, a 14-year-old is a child. Legally, she's a child. Campbell then admitted the prince may have made many mistakes, but insisted his only mistake was being too clueless to realize that one of his closest friends was a predator. Bull effing shit.
Yeah. That's
I believe
crazy.
that crap, you piece of crap. To have the gall, okay, to have the gall as a woman, to come up there and to defend someone who's a child predator, to defend a rapist as a woman. How the hell do you do that? How deranged do you have to be? How devoid of any sort of modicum of conscience do you have to have in order to do this? This is disgusting. Absolutely disgusting.
Yeah, it is. And that's the attempt. That's that clash of society that you talk about, V, in terms of people who want to indoctrinate us into thinking these things are normal, right?
This is the kind of shit that happens when you get rid of the patriarchy. When you vilify the patriarchy, you hate the patriarchy, you want to rail against the patriarchy. Let me explain something to you guys what patriarchy really is. In patriarchy, women are put on a pedestal and children are protected. You know, you see, a wonderful reporter, my better half told me this story. A wonderful reporter went to Marilyn Monroe and said, Marilyn, how do you feel living in a man's world? Do you mind living in a man's world? How does it feel living in a man's world? And he goaded her because he wanted to get some sort of an anti-patriarchal or a sexist type remark out of her and whatnot. But she said, and her reply was so powerful. I loved it. She said, I don't mind living in a man's world, just so long as I'm treated as a woman. Wow. That was a classy response, CJ.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. There is a couple of different breaking news, V, and I'll just go over just real quickly. So, one, apparently, two prison guards that were in the jail when Epstein, quote unquote, committed suicide. Apparently, one of them has been arrested. Which to me, that's very low-lying fruit. If they're going to off these two guards and prosecute the guards as the people responsible for it, I mean, come on, give me a break. And then the other one too. The other one is that Sweden finally dropped those the rape charges against Assange. But we just have to remember that even though that Sweden dropped those charges, that they're still trying to go after him for, either, in regards to WikiLeaks working with Chelsea Manning and encouraging her to release that information, I think is primarily why they continue to hold it. But I just want to share that real briefly.
Here's something incredible about this whole prison guard situation, right? The prison guards were offered by federal prosecutors to go ahead and write down, it's a plea deal, to go ahead and sign off on this plea deal stating that they did falsify their schedules. And usually when the feds give you a plea deal, look, dude, the feds, right? When the feds want to go after you, they take some time. And they typically have I think it's an over 90 some odd % conviction rate. So they pretty much get you dead to rights. If they want to go after you, they will have a plethora of evidence against you. And when they say, hey, look, here's a plea deal, we just want you to say this, just sign off on it, and and then everything will be fine. But the guards did not sign off on the fact that they falsified these records. And the guards are like, no, contrary to what the media is putting out there, no, we're not going to sign off on it. And we did, do those 30-minute checkups on them. Those were not falsified, and they refused to sign it. Meaning, look, if you don't take a plea deal from the feds, they will absolutely massacre you at trial, because now you're wasting their time. It's costing money. And then whatever plea deal that you had before, your sentencing is going to be 10 times worse. Everybody knows this. Everybody knows this, especially if you're working in law enforcement, and especially the lawyers that these guards have. And now the guards are saying, hey, you know what? No, we're not going to sign the plea deal. That's remarkable. What does that tell us, Siege?
Right. Yeah.
I mean, this thing is just getting weirder by the second, man.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Anyway. See, I think we covered a plethora of topics.
We went through a lot today. Absolutely.
I want to thank all of you for listening in. Subscribe. Hit us with a thumbs up, man. Hit us with a thumbs up. And if you haven't gone to mycbdedibles.com and purchased some goodies, go there, do it. You're going to love it. You're going to be a repeat customer for life. And if you haven't been on the Patreon, join the front line with the Guerrilla. I am there Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I've, last, 2-3 weeks has been kind of wonky. I had some personal family matters to attend to. But go to the Patreon, join, become a frontline member. And with that being said, Siege, we're over and out, brother.
All right.